Hey, listener, what's up? Thanks for pressing play. In this episode of the Jock and Nerd podcast, we discuss Batffleck stepping down from directing the solo Batman movie and just what a general mess the DC Extended Universe continues to be. Then we finally get to our long-delayed review of the first Japanese Godzilla movie in 12 years titled Shin Godzilla, all in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Thursday, February 2nd, 2017.
Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. Be shocking, be nerding. Be funny, disturbing. Be shocking, be nerding. Be spoiler alert. Oh yeah. Be shocking, be nerding. Be funny, disturbing. Oh yeah. Be shocking, be nerding. Be spoiler alert.
What's up? Welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast. We made it past 150 episodes. This is 151, listener, and my name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's a nerd.
And welcome to the show. Jock and Nerd. Anthony's a little bit under the weather, but he's going to power through it for this one.
Anything for the fans.
Anything for the show. I love the commitment. Look, we got a big one. If you saw the title of the show, listener, this is our Shin Godzilla review. Finally got to that, and of course, we need Godzilla experts. So, joining us is the Felty with the best felt face ever. I don't know what he has, but his name is Rug Boy. That one totally bombed. Sorry.
Lame.
Rugs, good earth to you. How's it going?
Jesus, what an announcement.
What an introduction.
I feel so special.
Okay, fuck off, Rug Boy. Also joining us is...
What's up, dude?
There you go. Now the show
How's it going?
How's it going? Now the show has begun. Also joining us is another Godzilla fan, illustrator, artist, expert, our buddy, friend of the show, John Bellotti Jr. Bellotti, how's it going? And you're on the phone, so we'll explain to the listener. Every time we schedule the show, something's happened, and this has caused John to do this episode on his phone. How you doing?
What's up, dude?
That is the phone, John Bellotti. But whatever we got to do, we got to get this show done.
It's like 4 months late.
Yeah, seriously. The movie's out of theaters already. It's ridiculous.
This is definitely a show for us. I will be surprised if more than 10 people click on this episode.
Well, look, if you're a first-time listener, let's just explain. The show is a weekly geek fest where we sit down every week and we discuss stuff that we love, and what we love is comic book stuff in the movies, on the television, on the print page, all that shit. So this show, we're going to do a little bit of geek news at the top, and then we're going to get into a very niche-y topic, which is Shin Godzilla that came out, like you said, earlier this summer.
2 summers ago.
2 summers ago. It seems like forever ago.
It's on FX channel already.
It's already being run on your local networks. It's not, but
for the Americans, it's Godzilla Resurgence.
It has a bunch of titles. We'll get into that. So this is the cursed show that we just got to power through and get it done, because every time something happens. Before we begin, though, I got a couple of bits. I want to shout out to our buddy Kevin Halden from Northumberland, our doppelcasters over at 365 Flicks, who is in New York City right now.
Oh, shit.
And posted the funniest photo of him with a cheeky smile standing in front of Trump Tower. He looks a little nervous in this photo, though. Kevin, I'm putting this photo in our show notes at jockandnerd.com/151. I hope you don't mind. And if you do, I don't really give a fuck. I'm putting it in there. It's a hilarious photo. Luckily, he's a white male, so he's got nothing to worry about walking by Trump Tower. You'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Nobody's going to try to deport you.
Good for him.
Yeah. Nobody's going to try to grab any part of you. You'll be safe. Just take pictures. And then finally...
He get any job he wants.
Yeah, you don't have to have experience.
He just hands you a job immediately.
Yeah, he's handing you get a job, and you get a job. He's like a white Oprah for jobs for people.
I can't tell if he's got like a shit-eating grin or like a nervous smile. Like he's like, some shit might go down behind me and I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. It's part, hey, look where I am, and part, oh, crap, what am I doing here?
Just yelled, white power.
In fact,
it's one of those smiles where you're like, showing your bottom row of teeth way more than you should be.
Yeah, that's a nervous smile. If you notice on the left, it looks like there's a guy giving like a Hitler salute or something. I don't know what's going on.
That's a girl.
Oh, it's a girl. It's all suspect. I don't know, Kevin, I don't know what you're involved in, but abort mission. Okay, finally, before we get to the news, listener, if you check out our last episode, it was 150. It was a milestone. We had a lot of great audio from our friends from other podcasts celebrating with us. Well, the guys over at History of Bad Ideas podcast, they wanted to make 151 special.
Wow.
You know, why not? So
no one ever thinks about the episode after that.
Right. I appreciate it. So here's what they sent in.
This is Jason.
And Jeff.
And Blake.
From the History of Bad Ideas. Check us out on iTunes. Celebrating episode 151 for Jock and Nerd Podcast.
The rum episode.
Yay.
You guys sent us a nice message for episode 150. Well, guess what? We're better than that. We're doing episode 151. No one ever congratulates you on that.
It's a better episode. It's one more.
Yes.
A lot of people quit at 150, but you guys did 151.
Nice. Now, I hope you don't quit after that.
And it's a great Bacardi number.
We listen every week. You guys don't listen to us, but
yeah, considering most of you didn't even know who we were.
But they have a sock puppet, don't they?
They do have a sock puppet. His name is Rag Boy. Sock Boy? I don't know. I don't think it matters because they don't listen to us.
I had a rag puppet back when I was a teenager.
Did you? How many did you go through? How many did you go through?
A lot.
No. Did it become hardened?
I don't know.
Like your soul?
But it wasn't as good as the Jock and the Nerd and Sock Puppet.
That's right. That's right. So I want to say hi to Imran, the Jock, also, and, well, the puppet, dude. I guess. So, no,
keep balling, dude.
Even though you don't listen to us, and your damn Cubs won, but thank you for
damn you, Cubs,
giving us this opportunity, and congratulations on episode 151. Jeff, anything else you would like to add?
No, that covers it.
Okay.
Have a shot of Bacardi 151 on you, because we can't buy it for you. But send us the bill.
We'll get right to it. It's with Blake at Graphic Novice.
We'll pay you back in IOUs.
Just as good as money.
Jock and Nerd. Oh, thanks for calling us out for not listening.
I got a couple comments on that.
Go.
Number one, definitely we don't listen to that show. Maybe
I
Imran
listen.
Does. Imran does.
Yes.
Number two, I like how they only know really Imran. They don't know.
They're like Jock and
they're really loyal listeners, I can tell.
I especially like the flamboyant Southern accent that you don't really know if it's really Southern or effeminate. It's great.
Oh shit!
And then the third thing is they're complimenting on us on the Cubs, but 3 out of the 4 people here probably could give a shit about the Cubs.
Yes, that's not true. No. I love the Cubbies.
You love the Cubs? You're a Mets guy, though, right?
No, I'm a Yankee guy.
Yankee guy. Oh, fuck off.
Well, and they're in Cleveland also, so it was extra bitter.
That all makes sense. See?
Yeah.
I don't listen to their show.
Full circle. Thanks for that. All right, guys, let's get to our short news segment.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Ruggs, is your felt stiff at all? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
I figured so. You got some receptacles that get a little stiff.
Sometimes if I have a nice dream, I gotta launder myself.
Listener, if you want to send us an audio comment about anything, a question, or just get in touch with the show, interact, just visit jockandnerd.com/contact. It has various ways to get in touch with the show. So this news segment, guys, we're just going to discuss one of our favorite topics we like to talk about here on the show, which is the fact that the DC extended universe run by DC Warner Brothers continues to be a hot mess.
Oh, shit.
If you follow these stories like we do, you probably do, you're listening to the show, you already know, Ben Affleck will no longer be directing the solo Batman movie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. My first reaction was, ha! So right there, what is your initial reaction? Anthony's is hearty laughter.
That's awesome.
Ruggs, what is your initial reaction when you read that?
I have like the smiley face that has absolutely no emotion to it right now. If I could give you a visual.
Yes.
Like that emotionless, like straight line across is my lips.
I got you. That's straight. Yeah, straight.
That's me right now.
Bellotti, your gut reaction to this?
I wasn't surprised. This was telegraphed months ago because you heard all those rumors coming out. Remember?
I agree. It's shocking, but not surprising. Here's what he had to say. Affleck said in a statement, there are certain characters who hold a special place in the hearts of millions. Performing this role demands focus, passion, and the very best performance I can give. It has become clear that I cannot do both jobs to the level they require. Together with the studio, I have decided to find a partner and a director who will collaborate with me on this massive film. I am still in this, and we are making it, but we are currently looking for a director. I remain extremely committed to this project and look
How do
forward
you translate that?
to bringing this life for fans around the world. Well,
I'll translate it.
Yes, translation.
If Justice League sucks, I'm out.
Yep, that's. I think you nailed it on the head.
I'll further explain this. Batfleck's like, look, this is going to be a piece of shit, and I don't want to be blamed for it. So let me get some other fuck to take the blame.
It's all.
He knows it's going to suck, so he doesn't want to be directing this piece of shit.
But this is what happens when they actually get like a real Oscar-winning, accomplished director to do one of these movies, because these guys don't waste their time with comic book movies. They do their own shit, you know?
I think Batfleck's reached the point where he's realizing, what the fuck have I stepped in? There was another article that he mentioned something interesting, and it was regarding the suit. He wanted them to design a suit that he could perform in and then easily, strip down to direct. But if you think about what it takes to be in these suits and how hot and heavy they are and how exhausting it is, imagine doing that and directing and staying in that suit. That itself is a daunting task. He was not happy with the Batman script, and it's just come out that Chris Terrio, his buddy, who won an Oscar for Argo, rewrote the Batman script.
Shit.
To make Warner Brothers happy. So clearly, he's like, I'll write and I'll produce, and he's going to star in Justice League. But I think you guys are right. He's thinking about his reputation. I think he can take a smaller hit with just writing and producing if it bombs than if he had all those things and he would be blamed for everything. And clearly, he has no faith in this. Neither does Warner Brothers.
Yeah, he doesn't want his directorial, he just had a movie bomb.
Yeah.
So he does not want to further complicate and compound that with this bombing.
Is that Live by Night?
Yeah.
That bomb?
Yeah.
So now he's like, okay, wait a minute. But I think you're right. I think if Justice League bombs, he is done. He will bail. And I wouldn't blame him, because he kind of is like, one of these things doesn't belong here, and it's fucking Ben Affleck.
What's unfortunate is everyone was in an uproar when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman. But I think for the most part, most people were excited about Batfleck directing his own Batman film. And now what's there really to be excited about?
This, the story of this, the making of this movie is already so much more fascinating than the movie's probably going to be. What a fucking wild ride. This should be a no-brainer for Warner Brothers. This is fucking Batman. You can't figure out how to do a solo Batman movie? What the fuck is wrong with you? You guys gave us the best Batman movie in The Dark Knight, and now they have no clue what they're doing. Now, let me throw this out there. They have a short list, but before we talk about who's on the short list, I want to know from you guys, who would you like to see direct the Batman? Any thoughts?
Wow, I didn't even think about that, so I have to sit there and think about it.
Are there any good directors anymore? I don't even know.
Well, that's a good point.
Who's left? I don't know.
Well, what about a David Fincher? Would he do it?
Yeah, I could see him. I'd love to see a Scorsese Batman. It'd be very street level.
Oh my God, that would be crazy. What about Ridley Scott?
Nah,
I don't think he's interested in that type of shit.
No, most of those guys aren't.
Anthony, you're not big into directors, are you? Nobody does.
No, I'm just looking at the cheat list.
Yeah,
Matt Reeves.
So the short list, they got two names. They got Matt Reeves, who directed The Pallbearer, Cloverfield, Let Me In, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and the upcoming War for the Planet of the Apes. That's not a bad pick. Those are
like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the other guy they're looking at is a dude named Matt Ross, who is an actor who's appeared in Face Off and American Psycho, who's recently made waves as a director, having helmed the critically acclaimed 2016 film Captain Fantastic.
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie. It debuted at Sundance. So Matt Ross seems to be a guy that they could push around a little bit more than the Matt Reeves, probably.
I like Matt Reeves for this.
I do like the Matt Reeves pick.
His Planet of the Apes movies are great. So let's do it.
And it kind of has that dark, gritty feel.
I would maybe try Duncan Jones.
Duncan Jones with the Warcraft. He just did the Warcraft.
Yeah, but he's actually a way better director than that. And I think he could do Batman.
Kevin Smith has come out and said, I ain't fucking touching it. And I don't know if I'd want him to do it.
Who wants Kevin Smith doing that anyway?
Nobody, but of course he has to come out there and be like, I won't do this.
No, he can't. He can even barely direct TV shows.
What about, there was a couple of other names. What about that Lexi Alexander chick?
Who did The Punisher?
Yeah.
No.
Which one? The Punisher Warzone?
With Tom Jane. Yeah, with Tom Jane.
Oh, that one?
No, that's not. No,
that's not her. She did the
Michael Hensley or
she did the Ray
like
Stevens.
Punisher Warzone was awful.
Okay, maybe Lexi shouldn't do it.
It was like over the top, like the gore, but it was awful.
If I would have thought about this earlier, I would have come up with a list of people, but I can't do it right off the top of my head right now.
There's so many. Like I said, I don't even know. Like no one's popping in my head.
What about Christopher McQuarrie, who is Tom Cruise's guy? He did Edge of Tomorrow,
I always go
Mission Impossible.
Guillermo del Toro for everything.
Guillermo del Toro shit. What about Nolan? Would Chris Nolan be interested?
Oh, that would be great too.
That would be crazy if he came back, but I don't think he'd want to do that. I don't think.
No.
He's been quoted as saying that he doesn't think Batman's as cool a character if there's other superheroes around.
Or whoever directed The Revenant.
Yeah,
that'd be good too.
That's Alejandro, that Spanish.
Inarritu or whatever.
Yeah, Inarritu. Oh, that's not a bad.
I don't even think this movie. I'll believe this movie's being made when it's actually released.
Right?
Like I don't have a lot of confidence.
Whoever did Ex Machina, he's good too.
What a mess! Like how hard they should have. I was thinking about they should have done a Man of Steel, then they should have done a Batman movie, then you do this Wonder Woman movie, then you do your Justice League. If they had just an ounce of forethought and planning, that would have been a great lineup right there. Let's not forget also, The Flash has lost 2 directors. And I also found out that Patty Jenkins was not the first pick for Wonder Woman. She was also a replacement.
Oh, shit.
The whole fucking thing is a mess.
Who was the first lady that they were going to do?
It was, I think it was a guy.
Oh.
Hold on, let me see here.
Ooh, I know who I want for Batman. Catherine Bigelow. She'd be great.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
She's good. Yeah, I liked her. Zero Dark 30 was fantastic.
So, original Wonder Woman director Michelle McLaren stepped down, citing creative differences. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm really worried about the script, but I think you're right. I don't think this fucking movie, the Flash movie, these things are never going to get made. Keep fucking holding your breath, guys. It's not happening.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's just on a studio level, these guys just don't know how to get it together. They're just a mess.
Like it's hilarious how much of a mess this is. So, boy, all right. Last bit of news for DCEU, and then we'll get to the Godzilla movie. Aquaman has its Black Manta.
Oh shit!
There was rumors about like Denzel Washington, which was I knew that was never going to happen. But the guy playing Aquaman in James Wan's movie his name is Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Aquaman or Black Manta?
Black Manta. He's playing Black Manta. Yahya Abdul Mateen II. He starred most recently in Netflix's The Get Down. Baz Luhrmann. He was Cadillac. He was the guy who owned the club, the music club, and he was good in that. And this guy, guys, he has a connection to our show, believe it or not.
Dun, dun, dun.
Here's the connection. He has a part in the upcoming movie called Sydney Hall, which was written and directed by my buddy from Pratt, Sean Christensen, who has been on episode 64 of the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Jock and Nerd. Oh, shit.
There you go. We have a connection.
I saw that movie, by the way.
Aquaman. So you did see Sydney Hall.
I saw Sydney Hall. Yes, I did.
Oh, snap. Oh, man, I got to ask you about that later. So I'm dying to see it. So
it's good. I enjoyed it. So
it's if you
people are reviewing it right now,
yeah.
And I don't think they're giving it a fair shake, but whatever.
It might get a wider release, listener. If you see it, definitely go check it out. I think it's probably good. Everything Sean does is very good.
I think you have to understand Sean, and then you get the movie. So,
did you guys see that Nicole Kidman might be Aquaman's mom?
Oh yeah, I saw that she's in talks. Also, so this cast is shaping up to be. At least this movie's getting made.
The only thing I'd be like if I was being cast on this film, is the underwater stuff. I don't know if I'd like doing that.
I don't know how they're going to do it. What are they going to do?
Like you spend like most of your day just hanging out underwater.
But you know what?
That's awful.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah,
I don't think that's how they're going to film this. By the way,
it's Aquaman, dude.
No, they're going to be Look, they're going to be floating on wires, and then they're going to have CGI floating their hair around. it's kind of look like, if you see the new trailer for the Pirates of the Caribbean, the one bad guy, like he walks on land, but his hair acts like it's underwater. It's a really weird effect.
That's going to take me right out of the movie.
I think it's going to be a lot of that. You can't possibly film the whole fucking movie underwater.
I'm interested just because I want to see how the fuck they do the underwater shit.
Yeah. And you have this cast also features, of course, Jason Momoa. You got Amber Heard. You got Willem Dafoe. You got Patrick Wilson, who plays Orm, who was Night Owl in The Watchmen. So not a bad cast. And James Wan directing.
James Wan's good.
At least we know this movie's getting made. After that, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. Everything after that is a mess for DCEU right now.
I wonder if fish stink when they're underwater.
Do they stink?
Yeah.
Aquaman's down there going, "What smells like fish?"
Yeah. Lame.
All right, well, that's our short news segment for this one because I want to focus on Shin Godzilla.
I like to call it an upper thigh Godzilla.
All right, we're gonna push on to the upper thigh.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Trivia Geeks, the Unpredictable Game Show podcast, is back with a brand new season. They've got a new host, new games, and a new day and time. But that's not all. Now you can download their companion app, Triv Now, and play along in real time. Watch Carrie on YouTube as she tries to convince her partner that his Dark Knight hasn't risen in years. Listen on Diamond Club and Alpha Geek Radio, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Twitter and get all the latest updates and showtimes.
In a world where so many podcasts offer TV and movie news, along comes another one filled to the brim with podcasty goodness that is only slightly better at best.
Admit it, you're always looking for a new brand of meaningless movie nonsense in your podcast diet.
Look for the 365 Flicks podcast on Twitter, iTunes, Stitcher, and all good third-party podcast apps. You can also swing by the Facebook page.
Come join in on the adventures of Kev, a pissy ex-video store clerk.
And Chris, a Scottish Whedon Hall.
We're your vocal heroes of pissy opinion.
We bring you all the latest TV and movie news, reviews, and general geeky rants.
As well as a bunch of top fives that you really won't care about. So whether you're Team Iron Man or Team Cap,
you're Team Batman or Team Superman,
drop on by the 365 Flicks podcast, where the Chris versus Kev Civil War never stops.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is Phil.
And this is Carrie.
And we're hosting this cool podcast called Brokebot Mountain, a Westworld fan cast, all based on the HBO series Westworld.
We had to do something. We were talking about it so much. We needed a venue for our crazy show theories.
Yeah, not to mention your fanaticism, and I'm using that word lightly, for Thandie Newton.
Should we mention your less than healthy obsession with James Marsden?
Shut up, Phil.
Shutting up.
So download us each week on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and SoundCloud, and listen to us beyond the range of possibilities.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
But before we get there, I got to shout out the fan club. Of course, you know this, listener, if you've been listening. We have an awesome fan club. We want you to join. You support the show, and you help us with maintenance costs, hosting costs, and you get fun bonus audio, post shows, whole episodes, instant reactions. You just have to visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon, and it's a place where we put stuff that may not be appropriate on the show. For example, political conversations where we, after the post show, Anthony, after episode 149, after you had left, oh no, you weren't there. I think it was Dahlhauer, whoever it was, after you guys left, Ruggs and I had a pretty open talk about what the fuck's happening in the country. And I was like, do I put this up on the Patreon? It's really, we have no business talking politics. It's our opinion, but that is the place where we put on stuff that doesn't fit. Having said that, listener David Zika commented on this political audio, and I was actually pretty surprised because out of everyone, I thought we would get a bunch of shit from him. for going political. This is what he said. He posted this on our Facebook group. He goes, thanks for the bonus audio. I imagine there are many who would say or think you should shut up and stick to comics.
Oh, shit.
I say comics have always been at the forefront of reflecting the real world in fiction and discussing social and political issues. If anyone is qualified to talk about oppression, proper use of great power, and fighting for freedom, it is comic fans. You did so with particular insight and reason. Keep up the good work. Thank you, David Zika, for supporting us, and thanks for
getting it. It's the first
it.
smart thing he's ever said.
Right, thanks for getting it.
Oh, shit.
Hey, shut up. The guy is a Patreon member. Thanks for supporting us.
He's actually his responses are always pretty good.
And Ruggs, I'm glad that Zika got it, right? Because you remember that conversation we had.
I don't even remember what I said.
I know, me neither. I had to go back and listen.
I like how Imran's queuing you up like, yeah, man, you remember, right? Ruggs, wait, nope, I don't remember. Imran immediately backs off. I don't remember either.
Yeah.
I went back and listened to it after he posted this. I was like, oh, shit.
I got to go listen to it
what
now.
Did we say?
I'm like cringing about what I might have said. But
No, it was good stuff. Look.
I didn't expect that to be. See, that's the thing. See, like when we do the post shows, I have no idea if he's going to put those up or not.
Yep.
So,
no one knows.
Because, like, I don't know if this is off the record. This is on the record. What am I saying?
Nothing is off the record. I'm recording everything. I'm always watching.
All right.
Just like the government. But
now I'm worried.
Listen, thanks to David Zika and everybody else for supporting us on Patreon. Check out jockandnerd.com/Patreon to join and have fun and to get us into the mood to review Shin Godzilla. We're going to start it off like this. That's the original theme, right, guys? From 54?
No, that's from 64, Multiverse Godzilla.
That's
my
true.
personal favorite theme.
That theme, I know that theme would be a little bit improved. You just put a little hip hop beat underneath it. I would love that theme. It could totally use.
They've done it. They've done it.
I need
yeah, they did do that.
A hip hop remix.
There are many.
They did it. Google it. It's there.
Yeah, they used it in Charlie's Angels, by the way.
All of it.
I felt like I've heard that somewhere.
Was it Charlie's Angels?
Yes.
Before we begin of our review with Shin Godzilla, of course, I gotta issue this.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
Because we go full spoiler here. We're balls to the wall, full spoiler. And I also want to establish, here's the great thing about this show. You have 3 diehard, lifelong Godzilla fans. And then you have me. Who likes,
just an asshole.
Who likes to break shit at G-Fest, if you've listened to episode 118. So let's set real quick. I want to know your level of Godzilla fandom. How long? Anthony, why don't you start?
First Godzilla movie, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, back when I was a kid. Been a fan ever since. I've seen all the movies. I know a lot about all the suits and all that shit. So fandom is pretty high.
Pretty high level. Ruggs, how about you?
I used to watch the Godzilla movies on Channel 11 in New York, which is WPIX, or now it's CW. And they used to have it on every Saturday and Sunday. They'd have Kung Fu movies and a Godzilla movie afterwards. So I was watching that shit as 5 years old all the time. And then when I got to be old enough to like buy my own shit, I used to go into the city and track down all the Japanese movies and watch them with the subtitles. And yeah, basically now that they're all on DVD, I've bought all the DVDs and I have all the figures. I have a bunch of figures. I have a lot of shit.
Godzilla's your jam. And now, Bellotti, what is your level for the new listener? We all know.
You all know. Well, Rug Boy just stole my whole goddamn routine. So pretty much just listen to what he said, and that's my story.
Only more, because if the listener goes to visit robo7.com right now, Bellotti, what are they going to find?
All my crazy Godzilla artwork that I sell at conventions such as MegaCon, G-Fest, and WinterCon.
See, Bellotti kind of takes the cake because he does the con scene with amazing vector illustrations of Godzilla.
Oh, they're okay.
No,
yeah, he's like a legitimate guy in that fandom. Like, people know who he is.
The man knows August Rigoni.
Yes, he does.
That's huge.
We talking about Bellotti? I went to go pee while you guys are talking.
Yeah, we just
we're still
blowing
talking about it. we're just blowing Bellotti.
Going to pee routine.
The old going to pee routine.
Yeah, old shooing off Bellotti.
I told you to keep an empty plastic bottle next to you, Anthony. But look, just visit robo7.com. You will see Bellotti's awesome. And then me, I'm about as big of a fan of Godzilla as Anthony is of Star Wars. So there's your balance. Just like casual. I grew up watching. I've seen the cartoons when the reruns over the summer. I've seen bits and pieces of the old movie. I've seen 89 and 98 and 2014, the American ones, and now Shin Godzilla, which is the first Japanese Godzilla movie in 12 years.
Oh shit!
Now I need to point something out before we even get into this.
Yes,
I saw it in its entirety in a theater, and John Bellotti also saw it in its entirety in a theater. I believe that Anthony saw it in its entirety on a plane.
On a plane, yeah.
And Imran saw it minus 20 minutes.
Yes.
Illegally.
So, yes. That's the only way I could see it right now. But, yeah, the theater thing is awesome because I don't think they've played a Godzilla movie in the theater for like 12 years or like 14 years, right?
Yeah.
So, the movie opened in July and then premiered in the U.S. thanks to Funimation in October. Limited run, limited release. What was that like, you guys, seeing it in the theater with Godzilla fans?
Well, I saw it on a Tuesday night, the opening night, because I couldn't wait out in Brooklyn at Sheepshead Bay. And it was like me and my friend Toby and like 5 other people. And it was just like dead silence.
That's all the people that showed up.
Yeah, it was just weird. But, and we left kind of like ambivalent. Like we didn't know how to feel about the movie. I was just too much anxiety. Second time I saw it in New Jersey, and the whole theater was packed with fans.
Nice.
And my brother came out, my cousin, another Godzilla friend, my friend Toby, we saw it again. So much better. It was just like, it made me like the movie more. Went on, I started thinking about the movie, and I said, well, I have some stronger opinions about the film now. But yeah, it's amazing. It really, like, you have to see it in the theater with other fans, like more than 4 people.
Yeah, yeah.
Funny aside to that is that I was supposed to actually see that movie with Bellotti in the theater that same time, but I talked to him. He said he already saw it, so I went to go see it. And then after I saw it, I didn't want to see it again, so I didn't go with him the second time.
I warned him. I said I was like, I still don't know. I think I said I still know how I felt, but I said you should go see it. You have to see it more than once because it's very talky, and you just need to absorb it. And you didn't make it through the first round. So. And
Anthony, you've only seen it once, also, right?
Saw it in the plane, and then I caught bits and pieces of it on the way back just to like reanalyze some stuff.
So, and then regarding the cuts, like you guys saw a 2-hour runtime, and the one I saw was 140.
Yes.
And so
I don't know what cut I saw.
Well, you don't know how long it was.
I have no idea. When you're on a plane for 14 hours, time feels like
time
never
doesn't
ending.
exist. Yes,
yeah.
It could have been 4 hours long, and you wouldn't have known. So that's cool. But I actually, Bellotti, I gotta agree. I watched it twice, and the second time I did kind of appreciate it a little bit more.
Yeah, you do. You catch a lot more.
And you can like fast forward through a lot of the talky parts and just read real quick and then just get to the Godzilla. Like that was also fun. Yeah. So let me set it up. A couple of stats I found. This is the 31st film in the Godzilla franchise, and the 29th Godzilla film produced by Toho. And you guys, is this the 3rd or 4th reboot of the franchise?
3rd? This is the 3rd.
Some places said 4th.
Count 98. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4th.
4th, yeah. If you count Legendary.
And then I learned some more interesting facts from the Cinemassacre review, being that it's the first to only feature Godzilla alone since 1984. Is that correct?
Yep.
First, if you don't count 98.
If you don't count 98.
Yeah.
The first to feature music cues from 1954 movie, the original.
No.
Or certain music cues. Like
they reused music cues from 54. Yeah. I don't know if it's the only time, but.
No, they used the original recordings from 54.
Yes. Oh, they used the original recordings. That's cool. Is this also the first remake of the original from scratch? Like the first time they actually, because wasn't a lot of them a sequel to the first movie? Is this the first time?
If you don't count the American films, this is the first time they've done a remake.
Yeah.
Like a full-on reboot where it's not connected to the original at all.
Wow, that's interesting. It got 88% Rotten Tomato score. Not too shabby. As far as the box office success, it became the highest grossing live-action Japanese film of 2016 and the highest grossing Japanese-produced Godzilla film in the franchise. So, according to Box Office Mojo, off of a budget of $15 million, which is not a lot of money for something like this. Domestically here, it made $1.9 million, plus another $76 million foreign. So worldwide, it's made $77.9 million. That's not bad. That's not bad for a 15 mil investment. Interesting enough, I also saw this story about Doctor Strange debuted at #1 in Japan. Like it's still coming out. It just got released, and it's still making money. So.
Damn.
Global market is good. All right, let's start with our opening thoughts, as we usually do with these reviews. Anthony, I'm going to go with you because I kind of know what Rug Boy thinks. I'm interested to hear what Bellotti thinks, but I want to know what you think. Overall, opening thoughts.
The film it's different, first off, than a lot of films I've seen. It's very political. Like, it's like you're watching Fox News or CNN.
C-SPAN.
The way they film some of this shit. So that's a little jarring. Overall, I would say I'm right in the middle on this film. There's parts I like, and there's parts where it's just, I don't know, some of the decisions I'm not a fan of. Not a fan of his design. Not necessarily a fan of the talking head stuff either, but I do understand like what they were going for, and I do appreciate the fact that like Godzilla, the connections to the real world issues in Japan, and the connections of like Godzilla, like it almost like makes Japan, they awaken Godzilla, this sleeping monster, and Godzilla awakens this giant that could be Japan, is the way I thought of it. If Japan could become a world power because of this. Like they're kind of like stepping up for themselves and finally taking their foot on the world stage instead of just relying on the US. Oh, and I have to throw in that girl that plays an American is fucking awful.
Patterson? Yeah. Her name is Patterson. Oh.
It's terrible. It's a terrible casting. I mean, I'm sure she looks great, but holy shit, that's not an American person at all.
No, yeah. And I wish they subtitled her English because I couldn't understand what the fuck she was saying when it was English and there was no subtitles. Bellotti, opening thoughts about Shin Godzilla.
Opening thoughts. Well, the first time I saw it, like I said, a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension. I didn't know what to feel about it because a lot was so different. See it again just to get like, okay, let me see if I really like this. And I did like it, but yeah, there's a lot of questionable things in it. I mean, they really need to get better American actors in Japan. I would take Danny Aiello, Danny DeVito, Gina Davis, just anybody, just throw them in the movie. Peter DeLuise. I just need someone.
Peter DeLuise. Is he even alive still? Dom DeLuise's brother?
I don't even care. Dig them up. Just you get
any Italian actor will do.
Yes,
any Italian actor. Get me in a goddamn movie.
John Turturro.
I liked it, but not. It's so hard because this is like you have one of your kids that you love to death, but it keeps fucking up, and you're like, oh God, what can you just get an A? Get an A in one of your tests. Come on, please.
Yeah, you guys came in with a lot of baggage to this movie. Ruggs, you have a lot of baggage, as we just heard. What did you think of this?
Well, as I said, I came in with a lot of baggage. I had, I'm doing this show. I've spoiled a lot of the shit.
Yep.
So it wasn't like a surprise. I was looking at the design early on and not liking it, and just was baffled by some of the decision-making process behind this film. And then when I went to see the film, I found, I just found so many problems. I did see a diamond in the rough, though. It's not that I didn't see what they were trying to do as a film.
Yeah.
There's definitely something there that they were doing right. But I think I said this in my mini review, is like every time they did something great, they would do something to negate it. So it almost keeps nullifying itself in its effectiveness as a movie. So I thought it was like, that's why everybody's kind of like in the middle about this. Now, the thing that baffled me more than anything was the great reviews that it was getting that were just praising it as the best of all the films. And I just couldn't, it angered me so much that no one was being honest and being like, about the film. So that even frustrated me even more. So when I reviewed it, I had a lot of anger from that as well.
And I checked out a couple other reviews from Godzilla fans, and largely they love this movie.
No, it's very split in the fandom. Oh my god, it's like talking about Trump to people.
Oh jeez, it gets it that heated. Damn,
it's really bad. It's like sickening at this point. And I I tell a few people like what I think about it, but I don't even post that shit on Facebook. Like I won't. This is the only place people are going to hear my opinion of the movie because I'm not sharing it at all.
Oh shit!
The Godzilla expert August Ragone never posted a review of it because
he still hasn't put his review out.
Because he doesn't like the movie and he's afraid he doesn't want to put that out there.
Yeah, he doesn't want to burn his bridges when he's so closely tied to this franchise, does he?
I don't think he wants to do that. No.
Yeah,
is he kind of like the Kevin Smith of the Godzilla?
No, I think that's to do with the Japanese culture.
Nah,
and
it's not
they're
polite.
not really into criticism.
It's not polite. I thought. Wait, I'm gonna play this.
Well, it's big and terrible. More frightening than I ever thought possible.
I didn't think the movie was terrible. I actually, coming into this, the only baggage I had was the stuff you guys talked about the look of the creature and how he had these really big hips and he looked like he was moving slowly. And then Ruggs, when you did your little review, it really it lowered my expectations, right? So when I finally sat down and watched this movie the first time, I was like, that was really interesting. I really enjoyed the Godzilla parts, but it was definitely a different movie than what I was expecting. And then the second time I watched it, I kind of got the bigger metaphor. I kind of got more of the satire of the government and all the decision making. And the fact that Godzilla wasn't, and he was just there. He wasn't like the protector of Japan. He wasn't really the enemy. He was just like a force that just needed to be taken care of. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this movie. And the more I thought about it, I really liked it.
Now, I've watched the cut that you watched.
Yes.
It's a lot more digestible.
It I can't imagine if there was 20 more minutes of that fucking office talkie scenes. I don't think I would feel the same.
Like, it was redundant even in that. Like they cut 20 minutes out and they still were redundant in some of the scenes.
But even in the 1 hour 40 cut, I was invested into the story. Like it was interesting. There was redundant scenes, but it was kind of them playing telephone with the decisions and the hierarchy.
20 more minutes of that.
No.
Got really frustrating.
No, I would not.
Lame.
I'm glad I saw the hour 40 cut. So look, like I said, this movie, it's not on VOD yet. It's not streaming anywhere legally. So I don't know how many people, Godzilla, if you're a Godzilla fan listener, I'm sure you've seen it. I don't know how many of our other listeners would have seen it. We should do a real quick recap, but that's really easy to do with this movie. It's pretty straightforward. Who wants to do a fun recap?
I mean,
a recap? Oh, man.
Just the plot. We need to know what the plot is.
John can do it.
Yeah, it's really, it's what's nice about it is that, okay, the movie just starts up with, a boat in the water and no one's on the boat. And as they're investigating this boat, all of a sudden this huge accident happens in the middle of like Tokyo Bay and one of the bay tunnels, like the underwater tunnels, the car tunnels.
Yeah.
And the movie just starts up.
Yep.
And it's like a disaster. And the government basically goes into crisis mode. They're trying to figure out what it is. Nobody can admit to like what the hell it is. They're like, it looks like a giant creature. Everyone's in denial of it. And basically the movie plays out from that point on as how the Japanese government reacts to it. And over the course of the film, it's basically a disaster movie with a giant monster in it. And it's just how they react to Godzilla. And it's kind of almost like The Godfather where, the Godfather Brando himself, he's not in the entire movie, but you feel his presence throughout every single scene.
Yep.
That's Shin Godzilla. He's like the Godfather character where every single ounce of dialogue in that movie, all the overact, all the extra dialogue that nobody liked is all about how to deal with Godzilla.
It's all about him, which I kind of appreciated the straightforward plot. Godzilla shows up, they got to figure out what to do with him. And it's an hour 40 of that.
And that's one of the things I liked about the movie. Like, I don't hate the movie. I don't think it's terrible. But there's just questionable things in the movie that I'm like, okay, but it's one of the co-directors, Shinji Higuchi, who worked on the Gamera films. He's a huge fan of American sci-fi blockbusters. And he loves Independence Day, which I never knew until recently. And when I was watching the movie, I'm like, this kind of reminds me of Independence Day with the speech. Do you remember Rondo gives the speech to the soldiers at the end? I'm like, this reminds me of the president giving the speech. And I was like, oh, when I made the connection, when I found out, I said, oh, this is like his, little homage to Independence Day.
Yeah, he has that little pep talk in the beginning of the third act. We should mention.
Let me point out something in the Talking Heads.
Yes,
I did like that there wasn't really like a bad guy in the government, like someone that was completely inept. Maybe the one. I don't know if he was the prime minister that dies in the film. I forget his title.
Yeah,
the prime minister.
It wasn't like he was completely. It wasn't like he was completely inept. It was more just the amount of politics was. He couldn't make decisions.
No,
as fast as
he was
wanted.
very unsure. He needed advice from everybody.
He was dealing. It was like he was dealing with something that no one's ever dealt with. He just couldn't. He couldn't. It's not like he was this like bumbling fool that they didn't make a human enemy.
No, it's entirely Godzilla, and it's him, trying to work through the bureaucracy of getting things done. Stuff that's not really exciting unless you put like exciting electric guitar music underneath it. Then it kind of gets exciting, which they do that sometimes. It's hilarious.
The first part where I noticed that this was a different film was when they were like, we could use the army and attack it. And then they were like, wait, but he's not really an actual physical threat, like, or anything, or something along those lines where they're like, this isn't an invading army. This is like a bug or a parasite or something. Like, can we actually attack this thing? And like that part where they're like figuring out the politics with even attacking Godzilla was made it point out to me that this was a different.
Especially as an American, you don't even think about that type of shit. You're like, that we'd fucking bomb that shit immediately.
Right. It's just like, nuke it, which is what the Americans want to do by the end of this movie. So let's just start. What worked for you guys? What did you like? I really enjoyed the music. I'm just going to say some of the music cues were awesome. It added that sense of old school Godzilla to it. The one scene in the middle where he's just torching the whole city to that operatic music, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I liked it, but there was the one scene in the middle where where Godzilla finally like becomes bipedal.
Yes.
And stands up. They use the music from 1954.
Yeah.
And for me, it doesn't work there actually, because he's such a goofy looking fucking monster. And you're using the most ominous music ever from the 1954 Godzilla movie. And then he roars and it's like, the dude's fucking bug-eyed, and he's bellowing out like he's the destroyer of all worlds.
The first time he roars, yeah.
I didn't like that. Actually, I thought that was. I thought it was really forced. So I mean, the thing is like has no arms, dude. Like it doesn't look threatening.
Yeah, the roar didn't go with the face.
No.
Did you guys like the use of so you didn't like the use of iconic music? It makes me think of these franchises that have iconic music that like James Bond or Indiana Jones, or you want to use these themes.
The only thing that I didn't like about the music, I pretty much liked all the music cues, and even the ones that from Evangelion are in there, which I think is out of place. Whatever, they did it, and whatever, I can live with that. But the quality of those recordings are so bad. I would have remastered them and kind of made them sound like a little bit more. So because it doesn't they're not on the same. Like when you have a score, everything has to kind of match, and they don't match. It doesn't match together. So they should have like either remastered it or processed it so it would kind of fit in this with the same compression as the rest of the stuff. Like
one sounds like an old recording, and then one's like a really clean operatic symphony music.
Right.
That was very jarring, but I liked that they used the music. I just didn't like the quality of it.
Yeah, they should have just added. They should have just taken the same music and just updated it, and it would have been fine. Like in stereo sound, it was very mono. It sounded dated. It sounded very dated, and it didn't match the visuals, and that's what hurt. That it did. It took me out of the movie. And then they're playing like when Godzilla lands on shore, they're playing like the Godzilla entrance music from King Kong vs. Godzilla.
Yeah,
and then they play the hero Godzilla music from Terror of Mechagodzilla, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right at all. This is kind of weird.
Wow.
Actually.
See, I would have thought
there are some physical like cues like that too, where like I mentioned earlier when he becomes bipedal and he has that deep roar. But then later on in the film, his roar is more along the lines of what we saw in the later Godzilla films, where it's like kind of more high pitched. And I felt like that should have been reversed.
Yeah,
like when he's like the Terminator, basically. I thought he should have had that deeper roar.
Right.
That would have been cool. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, he barely roared. He barely roared until like they bombed him.
He barely.
You remember when
he barely had any personality.
He barely made a sound.
No, this Godzilla.
That was the thing.
Yeah, it's not. It didn't have personality. Yeah, he was just this force.
But
like
I I dispute that, because in the beginning of the film, when he's Kamata-kun and he's crawling out of the ocean, he's got so much life to him. He's got so much personality to him. He seems like he's present. And so all of a sudden he morphs and he's no longer present. He just changes completely his attitude, and it just doesn't match. Even when he's in the middle stage, when he's the red thing, the Turkeyzilla, like he still has a little bit more presence and reactions, and he seems like he's more there than when he comes back as Godzilla. And I feel like that you lose something, I feel like it should be the reverse. Just like, he should be like less cool in the beginning and then have more personality as he gets older, when you become older and you grow, you get more personality, you get more things, it just seems weird. And when you're a baby, all you could do is cry and shit. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Well, look, let's talk about these forms because Godzilla evolves in several different forms throughout the movie. I thought it was pretty cool. One of my favorite scenes in the beginning is when the Prime Minister is giving that press conference and he's like, "We have been assured that Godzilla cannot come on shore. We have nothing to fear." And the guy runs up to him, whispers to him, he's like, "He just came ashore." And the guy's like,
no,
what?
That was good.
Like right on TV, fucking hilarious. So then we see, so the first time you see him come on shore, it's kind of laugh-inducing. Like you kind of chuckle because he has these big googly eyes and he has no arms and he's got these crazy gills with blood spewing out, but he's just ripping shit up with his head, flying things, or, tossing things about. And it's also hilarious that like he's this force that's like a tsunami. A lot of the destruction scenes reminded me of a tsunami hitting Japan, which obviously this was influenced by the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, nuclear disaster Japan went through and how the government reacted to it. So a lot of these scenes of the cars and the wreckage getting pushed into the canal, a lot like a tsunami. But if the way they explain what he is, it kind of makes sense that he would have these fish eyes, A lot of it made sense because basically they said that the professor who owned the boat said this was an ancient aquatic species of marine life who found itself surrounded by unregulated dumping of radioactive material.
But you also missed out on that as well, because that was also explained that it wasn't like sea life as in fish, it was sea life as in microbes.
Okay. And then
so you actually could infer that it was a fish, but in reality, if you actually watched the other cut, they would show you these things that look like little like microbes.
Oh, so little things. That was not in this cut. Yes, not at all. They just explained that it was a species of marine life that mutated to withstand radioactive waste and now is a fucking nuclear reactor.
What, Bellotti? Do you know what the actual word that they used for the little things?
Fuck. Yeah, August just said it. It's oh God. I knew I should have looked this up. It's actually, I think what Emron is saying is a prehistoric fish or something like that. There's a name of, it's a shark. It's like an eel shark or something like that. It has the red gills. That's what they're calling it in like all the official books and all that stuff. So I don't think it's the microbe thing, honestly. It's I gotta double check what August said. But we'll put it in the show notes because I can't fucking remember.
The only thing I would say is like, I was under the impression that it was a bunch of tiny little living organisms that just came together.
Right.
Yeah, because you saw the cut that I saw it.
Right. And then if you mention the ending, you're definitely like, yeah, that's like a bunch of little beings.
Yes, then the ending kind of makes sense. But the way in an hour 40 cut, this is it's a sea creature that's just fucking evolving.
I'll say this about it. It's definitely jarring, especially like if you're a Godzilla fan and you know what Godzilla looks like, to see that, you're like, that's not.
You're
Godzilla
like, what the
whatsoever.
fuck is this thing?
Right. It's definitely jarring. I didn't know whether to laugh or to be like disturbed. It was a weird feeling.
It was both. It was very disturbing. And I think what they tried to do is they tried to make a modern update of Godzilla and they tried to explain it plausibly. So it could be kind of believable. And you kind of like, oh, so it's not just a dinosaur. It's something that could actually maybe happen.
Yeah, that's what I kind of liked. I liked the it was kind of grounded in reality in this retelling. I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, it was, and I appreciated that, and I appreciated a lot of things about the film.
Even as goofy as that first form was, if you saw that, you would still freak the fuck out.
Yeah, he looks like a maniac coming at you, jiggling and moving. He's moving like what Enchantress from Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he's like flopping
he's
around.
doing like that dance.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is this? Knocking buildings down. This is freaky. And it has the big eyes and it has like this grin and bleeding all over the place. It's very disturbing.
So it went from goofy to then when I saw the blood, I was like, oh, what is that? That is disturbing. I love how he's leaning against buildings, trying to evolve, and he keeps falling over, and they don't know what the fuck. In the meantime, everyone is just moving from office to office, figuring out what to do. There's lines like the one guy goes, we had 2 hours to do something and we did nothing. And they're all like, let's organize. And nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows what to do. It's hilarious.
It's very satirical.
It is. It's very satirical.
Really is.
Like the shots of them like putting computers down and rolling in printers, and they get the war room ready, and there's like electric guitar music underneath. I'm like, oh, this is the exciting part right here. Them
rolling out the copiers.
It's very like Aaron Sorkin West Wing, exciting talking dialogue sort of.
I wouldn't go exciting.
It's not exciting. It's just quick cuts of dialogue.
It's very matter of fact, I would say. This is what it is. This is how politics are. Now you're going to watch politics.
Yep. You know what's funny? I was just watching the movie Tora. Have you guys ever seen that?
I've never seen it, but I know it's one of them classics. It's a classic.
Yeah,
it's about that Japan.
Yeah, the whole Japan. Funny enough, it's about Japan.
Oh.
It's the attack of Pearl Harbor, but it's told from the American side and the Japanese side. And actually, Akira Kurosawa was supposed to do the Japanese version, but he dropped out for reasons that I can't seem to remember at the moment. But anyway, I watched the movie recently, and it's basically... there's no name actors in the movie. I couldn't recognize anybody. And it's just the facts of what happened, how it got to that, the attack, and then the aftermath. And I was like, that's Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's what they made. It was like Tora. It was just, this is what happens. This is what would happen. And this is how a government, this is how the world would deal with something like that. And I like that fact in the movie. And my brother said, he's like, that was probably the most realistic Godzilla movie I've seen because that's how people would deal with shit like that.
Absolutely realistic. And let's not forget, this is a movie, the prime minister dies.
Oh, shit.
Like, what other movie are they going to kill the fucking prime minister halfway through the movie? I thought was ballsy. Like, this is a very risky move, it seems like, for Toho, making it, because
how does that fucker die? Doesn't he just go to a faraway building?
No, they were evacuating in the helicopter, and he lasered right through the helicopter.
Oh, that's right. All right.
Yeah, it didn't have as much impact as it should have.
Right.
No, but I was like, oh shit, wasn't the prime minister on that helicopter?
Yeah. Because that prime minister he's not portrayed as a particularly awesome leader. He's not completely inept, but there's no you don't get the feeling that this is the leader that's going to lead them.
No, this guy's very wishy-washy, and the whole movie does not paint the Japanese government in a good light. It's a whole...
I would disagree. They do. By the end, they're like, we can do things.
They do get their shit together if that's the lesson.
The younger guys,
right?
Rondo. I did like that scene where Godzilla just nukes the whole city. They're all in that facility, and they're on damage control. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And Rondo, he's the main character. He just starts he loses it.
Yeah.
And they're like, calm down. I was like, wow, I've never actually seen that in a Godzilla movie like that.
And then the other guy's the other guy gives him a bottle of water. He's like, calm yourself
and
first.
That guy, I like that character, his friend, because that guy had no emotions towards what was going on. He just wanted to profit from the situation. And I like that character because that shit, fucking happens every day.
Well, I also liked how you had threads of the U.S. wanting to take advantage of this as a renewable source of energy once they realized, they all came in. The other stuff I liked is a lot of the Godzilla scenes when he was on screen, when he was fucking shit up was awesome. Some of my favorite parts of this movie, beautifully shot. The destruction, when first his jaw splits. And he breathes fire, and it just fucking spreads, torches the whole city. Gorgeous. And I love the way it glows purple, and then it finesses itself to a laser, and then he just starts fucking lasering buildings. The destruction reminded me of Man of Steel level Zack Snyder destruction, just buildings going down. I loved all of that every time they did that, the two times.
I think that works because he actually finally shows some personality again. The reason he does that is the U.S. drops B-52 bombers, and he's actually hurt,
and he learns.
He gets pissed off.
And he evolved.
So prior to that point, he was just a zombie.
So all of these things, like the way he shoots his atomic breath purple and out of his back and out of his tail, this is all new for a Godzilla, right?
They've never done any.
Yeah.
So I got to give him props for giving something new, trying to put some new shit in there.
But what I was going to say is,
it's unnecessary. I think a lot of it.
Yeah. All right. This is how I looked at it. The Heisei Godzilla movies. In the '90s, he's walking through the military and the monsters and the sets. Nothing fucking hurts him. Maybe Mechagodzilla or whatever. And they kind of wanted to make him like an invulnerable, invincible god in this movie, but it's kind of, it's a creature still, and it has to have weaknesses and it has to bleed. So they gave him like all of these other abilities to sort of make him invincible, like back lasers. You can't even get a drone next to him because the drone explodes, and he can multiply. I mean, that's how I took it. I said, okay, well, they're trying to make it believable that like he's not dangerous because he can't be killed. He's dangerous because he can multiply. And he has all these other defense mechanisms that make him really dangerous. So that I didn't mind so much.
I actually hate that, but because the thing about Godzilla, in a lot of the other movies, is that he does have he's not infallible. Like he does have his weak spots. He's like slow, but he can't really But once he has to use a certain amount of savviness to beat his enemies and do all the things that he does. So I know that he's not the type of Godzilla that fights other monsters in this movie, but I mean, if you're going to introduce a new Godzilla and this is going to be the new status quo, you have to think that one day he's going to do that, and I just don't see he's way too overpowered. I mean, even Superman has got weaknesses. He's got kryptonite and he's got magic, and there's a bunch of other things that could weaken Superman. Godzilla basically is a overpowered creation that actually has no ability to be killed. I mean, think about this. They've backed themselves into a corner because they say that he can, if you chop up a part of him, he could grow a whole other Godzilla. Then if you nuke him, he might absorb the radiation or redirect the radiation and not necessarily kill him. Or if you try and shoot him with something, and the radiation will probably be even worse than anything else. And then on top of that, he can sprout little Godzillas and he can sprout wings and fly around. So like he's got lasers shooting out of every orifice of his body. There is he's so powerful, and it just makes him weak as a character.
But there is
I would say what they were trying to portray, in my opinion, was that he is literally like in the quote in Alien. I think it's Alien or Aliens Resurrection, where they're like, it's the perfect organism.
Yeah,
I think that's what he is.
Yeah. They say
because
that.
He literally he can evolve. He just adjusts all the time. Like, all right, you guys are going to do this to me. All right, I'll shoot back lasers.
That's great if you're going to create the perfect organism, but I don't think that's what Godzilla is.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's good for a character to be that way. It's just going to write a character. You don't going to write it to be omnipotent. It's like it's boring.
I'm not arguing that I liked it. I actually didn't like that he's like that. I didn't like how you can be ever evolving but not be omnipotent, like you said. I think they could have handled that a little better.
The line was, he goes, a perfect organism surpassing man is what they actually said. I was like, wow, that's kind of deep, and they kind of think of it's like a god force almost.
And where do we go from this ending?
Well, look, but you know what, Muggs, he does get hurt. What the second round of bombs that hits him in the back, you see all this blood come out, but then he just turns around and starts shooting fucking lasers everywhere. And then it comes out of his tail.
The one real weakness is him just freezing after he uses all his powers.
Right.
That's the thing that they wanted to.
Well, and when
but they can't do anything. But that's the thing. They negated that. They gave him a weakness. They made him like fallible. But now you can't get near him because he has lasers that shoot things that if you come near it, like he EMPs the area. Like it was everything had like a counterpunch. Like there was no the weakness is negated. Like, if you can't get near Godzilla and do anything to him, what's the point of having him have a weakness?
Those train bombs fucked him up pretty good. I thought that was cool. Because isn't Godzilla always, destroying trains? It was a nice, get back at Godzilla. Trains get
I wasn't expecting that ending at all. I was like, this is crazy. And by the second time I saw it, I was actually getting into it because it reminded me of the older – a lot of people don't – I don't know why no one has noticed this, but – the older Toho films that Ashiro Honda, the original Godzilla director, made, these 3 space opera movies, the the Mysterians battle in outer space, and Gorath, which is about a meteor coming to Earth. And each movie, Ishiro Honda was a pacifist, and he wanted the whole planet to come together and fight a common enemy.
Yeah.
And the ending of this reminded me a lot of those movies. And that's what I liked about it, that people just like came together, doing all the work. They were helping, but it was like the industry and the people that banded together to defeat Godzilla. Like I liked, you know what I mean? Like I like the messages of like certain aspects of that film.
Well,
you know, like
half the movie they can't get their shit together and they're just fucking talking. And then by the end, you know, the lesson is once we get together, they got this 5-phase plan.
The lesson is that Japan can be a world power and handle its own shit.
I think they cheapened that too. I also think they cheapened that too because they said, all right, Japan's finally going to stand on its own, but then at the end, they still need the Americans to help with the drones.
It was not, they weren't on at one point, and I love this part that they were like the U.S. wants to drop a nuke on Tokyo, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually discussing a third atom bomb getting dropped on Japan, and the prime minister was like, what am I going to do? We got to let them do it. We got to evacuate 4 million people. Like, imagine if that was fucking New York City and they had to do that shit. I thought that was crazy. I like that part.
Well, they said that line in the film. They said if this was New York or Washington, we would do the same thing.
And it's always funny how
they wouldn't even evacuate New York. They would just bomb.
They'd be like, "Fuck it, just wipe it out. We'll start from scratch."
They should.
We don't ever want to look like pussies. America never wants to look like they're pussies. So that if they wait, someone's going to complain. So they just fucking will take it out. They don't give a shit.
What'd you guys think about the fact that professor who was missing that was on the boat? It was his. He kind of unleashed this on the world and on Japan because his wife.
There's a rumor that it's actually him, that Godzilla.
That he's Professor Maki. Really?
Yeah, Rigoni debunked that too. He's been very adamant about that on social media, actually. About that,
I hope not.
He's because there's talk like, well, you know, to spoil the ending, but we all know what happens at the end where they show the close up of his tail and there's humans in it, and people are like, oh, well, that's the doctor that got absorbed, but that was just the thing that I got from it was that, first I thought man was the real monster, like man and like his tail. And then when the art book came out, The Art of Shin Godzilla, they had all these photos of the tails and all these concept sketches of that tail. Yeah. And they had these Godzilla creatures with one eye and these fangs. And they were saying that was Godzilla's fourth stage, was these human creatures, which I'm like, I don't know.
I hate that.
I don't like it. I don't like Godzilla human anything at all.
I think that's an interesting tease for the movie, but I hope they don't execute that in the next one.
Right.
Leave it at that.
Well,
Leave it at that tease.
The reason why that rumor got out is because the whole entire thing gets rolling after this guy kills himself in the water.
Right.
You know, he right below where Godzilla appears. So that's why.
That's a good point. Yeah, and he's like,
that's why people are connecting the dots, and it's inferred in a couple of ways. And once I picked up on that, I was like, ugh. And so I was in an argument with some other Godzilla fan about Godzilla having no motivation to surface, because for all intents and purposes, they said he's nuclear, he's hot. Why would he ever leave the water? The water is huge. Yeah. There's no reason for him to ever come on land. There's nothing bringing him to land. So then someone's like, well, Goromaki hated Japan.
Yes.
And Godzilla's Goromaki. So that's why he came on land. And I was like, I thought about that. And I'm like, well, that's the only motivation that it would have to come on land. So that probably makes sense.
To get revenge for his wife who died of radiation poisoning, and Japan didn't help them at all.
Yes.
Like, kind of left him hanging.
So
really makes you think, doesn't it?
That's
it's like
interesting.
It's like fucking Cloverfield.
Yeah. Look, let's talk about that ending. The whole last act, the whole like 5-phase attack, I thought was fucking awesome.
I like that a lot
because they fucking dropped buildings on him, and then they had to run over and shoot him with this coagulant to freeze him. And halfway through, he wakes up and just fucking kills them.
It would be better if it didn't look like he was getting a root canal at the dentist.
It did look like he had. It looked like he had dental things in his mouth. Yes,
lame.
You're absolutely right.
And the fact that he's just sitting there while they're doing it.
Well, see, but I also didn't understand. So there, at the end, he's just frozen. He's part of like the skyline. He's part of the landscape, and I'm like, they're just gonna fucking leave him there. And then
they can't move them.
No, they can't. I guess you can't.
I would at least try to shatter it, you know.
Yes, and then halfway through the movie, they have a chance to do something while he's spent and out. And what do? They fucking wake him up. so he can cause more fucking damage.
This is the thing about that. As soon as he falls asleep, there's like about, I'm gonna say 20 minutes of the movie of whatever the new prime minister guy. What's his name? The young guy,
Rondo,
like, following Rondo around to meet the new prime minister and whoever's in charge now.
Yeah.
And then the fat guy with the lisp goes, "Oh, we have 15 more days." So like 3 days or 4 days have already passed. And then they have 15 more days, so it's actually like almost a month that he's asleep.
Yeah, they had 15. They said he'll be awake in 15 days, at which point the U.S. was going to bomb him, and they still needed more time. They're like, "Wait, we need more time. We don't know what to do."
Oh my god! Like, it just
so
there's something about that breaks the tension for me and breaks like a lot of the these cuts, especially in the beginning of the movie where they're cutting back to these boardrooms and it doesn't seem like they don't even have a TV on or anything.
I thought it was interesting. They never actually see Godzilla. They never interact. There's one point
they never acknowledge that it's like a game of telephone.
They never actually see him in person. Yeah. And then the telephone decision making must be how they run things, because there's people sitting next to each other asking the next person, "We're ready to fire. Can we fire?" And then she turns to the prime minister, "Can we fire?" And he tells her, and then she tells the guy next to him, and then he calls another guy, and that guy calls another guy.
Imagine 20 more minutes of that.
No, I didn't need 20 more minutes. So I just want to say the last shot of the tail you guys were talking about with the creatures, that really fucking gave me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, shit.
Like, it made my skin crawl. Like, parts of this movie really disturbed me, and that was one of them. I was like, oh my God, what the shit is going on there?
That you should see that.
It
that
gave me goosebumps.
Actually, that wasn't CGI. That was a real sculpture, and that sculpture is fucking amazing.
Oh, it's a real wow. It's a real sculpt. Wow,
it's beautiful. I would have that in my room.
I wish it was shot better. They should have spent more time on that shot. They should have circled up. And
it's very
around.
quick. It's very quick, but it was enough to creep me out.
It was enough. Yeah.
Upon the initial showing, I actually didn't catch it.
I
had to have it pointed out to me.
It was too quick for the Anthony. I also thought it was funny how once they do freeze him and finally they win, nobody cheers. There's no celebration. Very Japanese, I guess.
That is very Japanese.
Just like you would expect me, yay! Nope, nothing. They're just
it was also what I liked is when they defeated him, the last shot when you see Rondo's face through the mask and he just closes his eyes and you feel like, holy shit, we fucking did it.
Yeah.
That I really liked. And they just sort of let out there what's that, a gasp, when you
a sigh of relief.
A sigh of relief.
Yes.
That's pretty much the end. Holy fucking shit, I can't believe we fucking did that.
So did this feel like a Godzilla movie to you guys overall?
It did in a certain way, but I would not categorize it as what I would be the quintessential Godzilla movie. I think it's on the fringe.
I would say it's not. I would say it's definitely not my favorite interpretation of Godzilla. It's not how I would prefer Godzilla be portrayed on screen. In terms of, I didn't mind him being this destructive force. I didn't like the design and his powers.
I remember you guys, your criticism of everyone. He's very slow moving, lumbering in its final form. But realistically, something that big would not move fast. That is how fast it would.
No, but not even that it doesn't move fast. It just doesn't move at all. It's just like his knees move.
I see both sides. I see the part where they blow him up, they attack him. He doesn't even flinch. It's almost like he's not there. At the same time, it shows how fucking badass and indestructible his skin is and this Godzilla is, that nothing is even phasing.
I would go, they went for the realistic route with everything. So they went the realistic route on how he moves, on his explanations, his origins, on how military and government get things done. They went realistic on everything.
Yeah.
But for me, as a movie fan,
there's no magic.
Yeah, that's not exciting all the time. How things really aren't always exciting. That's why things get adapted, changed, and all that shit.
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but that's the debate I keep having. It's it's super realistic and this is how it would happen probably, or maybe it wouldn't. But does that make it a compelling movie? Probably not. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting to see another perspective on how it would look. Yeah. And the military scene in that movie was probably the best fucking military scene.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's I've had fantasies about Godzilla movies looking like that. So that's it. That's all I want to say. There's nothing else I can say.
I just wish that the Godzilla, his part in the movie, that military scene was a little bit better, because I mean, even when the part where the bridge comes flying, you don't ever see Godzilla actually do anything.
No,
to the bridge.
yeah,
You just, like, anything that they could do to hide him having to do anything.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that bothered me too. Like they showed the bridge, and it was the bridge from the original movie too. Which is even funnier.
Oh, really? I mean, I like the moment where they've hit him with everything, and he's covered in smoke, and they think he's down, and then he just fucking throws a bridge at them.
You should have roared right there. That would have been cool if you would have roared. Like it would have been quiet and all this. They didn't even do that. So like, just things that are missing that could have been there that could have been better.
I still think he had like his hips and his bottom legs are fucking giant. And there was one point where he was kind of like wiggling in a really funny way. Like his hips were wiggling.
Well, he's like walking and it's like literally like toy style, like one leg up, one leg down, one leg up, one leg. So there's stuff with like that and like his characterization. This is like a very good portrayal in terms of how it's not man in suit. It actually looks pretty good on screen, but I wish they would have went the extra mile and just gave him like a little bit of a personality. Like show his lips snarling once in a while. Show his eyes like reacting to things. When he roars, let his fucking tongue like come out. Bit. Like just little things like that.
He doesn't have a tongue.
Yeah, he's got like these multiple mouth palate things in the back of his throat. And
I mean, he looks like when he opens his mouth, he's like a giant like puffer fish sort of thing.
I did appreciate that one point, that real quick shot of when he was blowing his atomic breath and like his eyelid covers up with like a protective eyelid.
I enjoyed that. That shows personality.
Yeah.
I'm just wanted more of it.
So let's talk about the special effects and the fact that this Godzilla was entirely CG, correct?
Yes.
Not at first.
They tried to do it with a guy in a suit.
There was a movie.
It was a puppet.
There was a movie that Anno did. It was a short film called The God Over Japan or something.
Yes.
Yeah, God Attacks to. It was basically based off an anime.
Yeah.
Nausicaa.
So basically, they wanted to use the same technology that they used for that to make Godzilla, and then when they actually went and did it, it looked like shit. So they decided that they were working on a CG Godzilla for like auxiliary shots, and they just decided to use that as the main thing.
Like at the last minute or something like that.
I thought the fact that there's so many daylight scenes with Godzilla, I thought Godzilla looked pretty good, all CG. I thought there's a couple of shots where it's a little shaky, but for the most, I enjoyed this. Does this mean, if this is the new status quo for the franchise moving forward, is this the end of the man in suit Godzilla forever for Toho?
Only if they want it to be, honestly.
Why would you go back to it though if you do this?
Well, if it's gonna be boring ass, not moving, no personality, Godzilla, I'd rather have the suit.
Yeah.
But if they could do it in a way that is kind of like what Legendary did and really brought life to the character and gave him dimension and stuff like that, the reality of what they did and trying to be real. 98 tried to make Godzilla into like a real lizard or something.
Yeah.
And that failed because reality isn't always great. So I think that there has to be some magic there. I mean, I could see a version of this design that's maybe tweaked a little bit and maybe they depower him some way. Maybe maybe something happens and him being frozen actually makes him like not so unstable. He finally stabilizes into one form and he doesn't evolve anymore. Like then I can get behind it. But like, I don't like this whole new idea of, I can't just imagine they're going to evolve him into things that are not Godzilla anymore. Because once you evolve away from this, then it's not Godzilla.
That's what it sounded like towards the end, where they're, like you said, they talked about him sprouting wings, that he could break up into a million little things. But how is a bunch of little creatures Godzilla, moving forward? Like, what is that? What is that?
It's not at all.
What?
That's Destroyer.
That's Destroyer.
It is Destroyer or Hedorah. But I was thinking when he mentioned the wing situation, like he could grow wings. There was that shot where the stealth bombers, the U.S. Air Force bombers, the military finds like one of his like cells like growing, like his spine is growing.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh, they can probably just grow another monster to fight Godzilla. That's probably how they'll approach it.
They have.
Or they might not.
They have his DNA. I will say this Godzilla is...
This new Godzilla is unfriendly and is going to destroy your country. There's nothing you can do about it.
That still stands. That's still true. Very much so.
Is that Scott Meridew?
No. Did he sound British? He sounded British. What? Okay, so what didn't work? We talked a little bit about other things some things didn't work. I thought the fact that there was like no characters to relate to in terms of the human characters was interesting. There was there was just a little bit of growth in terms of
anybody speaking English.
Yes, I mean that girl. You know that girl wants to be the first woman Japanese president of America. Like she, and then Rando Yaguchi wants to be prime minister. He's a little bit, but really, it wasn't about the characters. Like there weren't any characters.
No, it spoke to the Japanese culture where they do things in groups. They don't want nobody wants to stand out. Nobody wants to be the nail that gets hammered down the hardest, as they call it. Everybody wants to contribute, And
they're always thinking about public opinion, what other countries are going to think, what their people are going to think, what jurisdiction is this in. Can we do this? We've never prepared for this. This is unprecedented. Just lots of talking.
What didn't work for me was the talkie scenes, the overabundance of them. And for me, if they're moving forward with this Godzilla, as Rug Boy stated, I don't think this version of Godzilla can last, like fighting other monsters or being a thing. And if they go the route of him multiplying into little men, that's just not Godzilla at all. That becomes a horror movie. A weird horror movie.
I'm really curious to see where they take this next after that last shot.
I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're going to make a sequel to this. I don't know. That's just my gut.
I don't know either.
Look, but we know.
I think this is a one-off.
But every time the U.S. puts out a Godzilla movie, they put out a Godzilla movie. It's kind of a back and forth. Legendary's planning more Godzilla movies. So what do they do? Reboot it again? Where do you go from here?
Well, they talked about Anno coming back for the second one. He said he wouldn't come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's doing Evangelion 4. He wants to do that, but I don't think he'll come back. I think Higuchi would rather. I think he would take it over, the co-director and the special effects director. I think he would do it, but I don't think Anno would do it.
I just don't like the way that they left off this movie. I mean, what didn't work for me beyond taking all of the characterization out of Godzilla and changing his origin and everything. Like, there's, as I said, they took away the thing that I loved the most about Godzilla, which was the 1954 version that was related to Hiroshima and the nukes because that never happened anywhere else like that, right? Japan is the only place that went through that. So it makes sense that the only place that would have a monster like this would be where something that disastrous happened. And
but it's kind of the same thing in a modern age.
No, it's not the same thing. It's just dumping shit in the water, It's like in something eating it. It's not the same thing. And the fact that that Godzilla was this creature that was a sea monster that people knew of on Odo Island, and he was scarred by this thing, and he was kind of angry at man for scarring him and mutating him. He had more of a motivation to come on land and to do things. So it's like, I think that core thing about Godzilla that I always loved is gone. That kind of like sours it for me. And then the ending where they painted themselves into a corner sours it for me. I love the allegory to Fukushima. I love the allegory about the political stuff and how it's about Japan coming together and rising up on its own. I love all that stuff. And there's so many cool things about this movie, but the ending to really, and some of the stuff about Godzilla's origin where he can multiply, and like we leave this movie with Godzilla frozen. Yeah. His tails are about to bloom into all of these little Godzilla dudes. And then you have his spine that's mutating. And then you have people who have samples of his blood. So cool. It's cool if Godzilla doesn't evolve anymore, but they're saying he could still evolve. So you have this ability to maybe take some of this stuff and mutate them into other kaiju that he could fight. But that tail thing kind of ruins it, because now there's a million little guys that are coming out of him. And I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to be. And that's weird. So, and the fact that it's not going to be, Godzilla's not going to stay static. He's going to keep changing. I don't even know what I'm going to get.
He's look, I saw this thing as a commentary on Japan's disaster response and preparedness after 2011, for which, for all intents and purposes, was like Japan's 9/11. Like it was a huge and so it just happens to have Godzilla.
No one's debating that, Imran. It's the fact that when you compare this,
is it a temple? Is it a franchise?
And then when you compare this movie is going to get inevitably compared to the original because it's a reboot.
Yeah.
That message of Japan's delayed reaction to Fukushima, not as strong as a fucking nuclear bomb getting dropped on
by
them
somebody else. Yeah.
That the message there. So they could have either done a sequel to that, or they went with the reboot. And unfortunately, the reboot's message isn't as strong as the original.
It's pretty ballsy for them to fucking even attempt this.
The thing is there's no, like, the original movie was reacting to something very, very powerful that happened to Japan.
Yeah.
It really wasn't supposed to have a sequel. No. And every sequel after that was kind of like a stretch. And then by the time this movie came out, because if you look at the Heisei era, that just picked up where the original left off, and same thing with the Millennium series. Now with this film, it's like, okay, we got to, Anno was like, I can't make a Godzilla movie. I don't want to do this. And Higuchi was like convincing him we should do it. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, it's going to have to be like the original. I said, okay, let's do it. And they tried to go that route, but, dumping shit in the water, you're right. Like dumping shit in the water, like unregulated by even like the United States or whatever. It's more of like, the movie speaks more to the political climate of the world than an actual disaster of the world, And for some people that resonates and some people it doesn't. And some people it's harder to understand.
And I also think it's a mixed message because, Fukushima is a natural disaster. There was an earthquake that nobody did. It was, the Mother Nature decided to make an earthquake, and that made a tidal wave, and the tidal wave and the earthquake fucked up this nuclear facility, and all of those things come together naturally. And it's not the same allegory as mankind not knowing what the fuck it's doing, and it needs to fucking be bitch slapped. Like,
right.
So I think that the message is a little mixed.
It's lighter. It's the government not knowing what the fuck they're doing after a huge disaster. But
I don't know if it's I don't think the intent was to make it lighter.
Yeah,
I think they were intending to make this just as hardcore as that original film.
Yeah,
it's just
dark.
Inevitably,
because it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, but it's a tragedy at the hands of Mother Nature versus the tragedy at the hands of a nation that was doing something that Japan karmically shouldn't have done. And getting blown up for it, wrongly, and terribly.
Yeah.
That's a very fucking crazy ass thing that's never happened anywhere else. So I think that had so much more weight to it.
I mean, they must have really dropped the ball in their disaster response
Earthquakes
in
happen
2011.
everywhere.
Yeah, but think about the fact that this country went through quick succession: earthquake, tsunami, nuclear disaster.
Oh shit!
Like that's fucked up. All three of those things very rarely happen all at once within a week of each other. And so Japan, I kind of feel like they went through this when that happened. Like they did not know how to prepare for this.
Well,
they never went through this.
They rebuilt themselves, time and time again.
Yeah. In terms of the shots of this radiation plume, it made me think of Fukushima and how, but then they wrote it off at the end where they were like, oh, its half-life is only 20 days. It'll be clean in 2 to 3 years. The radiation will go away. I was like, okay, well,
it was
that's convenient.
Wrapped up.
Yeah.
A little wrapped up in a really nice bow. It's like, oh, that's convenient.
And also, I also think that there's an allegory here that nobody pointed out yet, and I just want to tag it before I forget it.
Yeah.
Is that whole scrap and rebuild. They're talking about scrapping and rebuilding the government and the way that they do things and how Japan's got to do as it likes or do as it wishes, as it says in the movie. But they're also talking about Godzilla. We got to do as we like. We got to scrap and rebuild. And I was kind of I took that and I was like, fuck you. But I don't know. He doesn't. I don't think. See, this is the thing about Godzilla, and in the modern era, okay, we have all of these times this potential to take something that originally, had its limitations because of, Japan wanted to do this crazy ass King Kong type of animation, with a stop motion.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the budget to do it. So they did Man in Suit as a, quick Band-Aid. And now in the modern era, you can pretty much create anything that you want in CG and do whatever you want with it. And now you can just make that Godzilla like it was always meant to be, but then people have the need to scrap and
rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, look, for a character that's been in 31 movies, that's done the craziest shit from like goofy ass flying kick to flying through space to dancing. Like, I appreciate the risk they took in making him do different shit to just breathe some life into like he's done way crazier shit in other movies, has he not?
Yeah. But I thought we were evolving to some kind of majesty. And we kind of evolved to more of a horror thing or some kind of weird thing. I don't know.
But I think that's what they were going. I think that's the tone I don't want to take. Was more of like, the original horror of the first 54 film. It's like this horrific situation that's come onto the country and how people deal with it and the death and destruction it causes and all that stuff. It was more of a horror movie than like a sci-fi movie.
Well, the original Gojira is in a class by itself. Like all the other movies, the other 20, whatever, how many, 29 movies, 30 movies are not that. So, you have to make it the sum of its character, not the sum of one movie.
Well, in that sense, I thought it was really going back to that original, because that first movie's pretty dark, isn't it? It's not
very dark.
Barney Godzilla. This is a dark, scary movie. And I kind of felt like they were trying to go
but that's not what made me a fan of Godzilla.
Right.
What made me a fan of Godzilla is watching him fuck up Megalon with Jet Jaguar,
and so in this, I mean, I think you're right. Like, if they go forward with this, like, I don't know how you introduce other monsters. Like, it would almost be way too unbelievable that there's another monster in this, like, because of the way
I don't know if it's unbelievable. I mean, once you introduce one monster, you can introduce any monsters, but it's the fact that he's so overpowered. Like, he's laser beaming buildings in half.
Holy shit, it was awesome. I love that.
Like, what the fuck?
Well, now that they have his DNA, maybe they can create something to take him down.
I watched this movie today.
Yeah.
And then right after it, I watched Legendary right after it.
2014.
Yes.
So what did you think of those two compared? What did you like? But which one do you think is the better Godzilla movie?
I don't honestly, I don't compare them. I don't think they should be compared.
Yeah, I don't really
think two separate things.
I think that what Legendary's whole thing is I feel like they underpowered Godzilla and they made him weaker.
Yeah.
Because they want him to make him sympathetic.
Yeah.
He bleeds.
Yeah.
He gets hurt by things. His blast doesn't really that he radiates doesn't really, it's not like it doesn't like just kill the enemy in 1 second. Like, it's not that powerful. But it makes you root for him. He's like Rocky. He's fighting his way, out of this situation, and he's doing what he can do. And it makes you love him more as a character. The movie itself is not great, but Godzilla is great in that movie. I wanted that to be my Godzilla. I feel like that the Shin Godzilla is a much more intelligently written movie that has more takes more risks, and is entertaining in its own way, and it's also mysterious in its own way, and makes you think a lot more than Legendary. But I think Legendary creates a hero.
Yeah,
I
don't know who I was rooting for in this movie, really. I'm trying to think. You're not rooting for Godzilla, that's for sure, because he doesn't really have a personality.
Well, you're rooting for the humans.
Yeah, you're rooting for the Japanese.
But they're because in the beginning they're so like wishy-washy. You're like, come on, get your shit together. What are you doing?
I want to go with wishy-washy. They were just kind of they were dealing with something they never dealt with. I didn't interpret it as wishy-washy.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. It totally caught them off guard.
I'll just say this about the two Godzilla films. I mean, they're totally different movies, like we've said. There's more depth to Shin Godzilla. There's more meat. There's more substance.
Yeah.
There's allegories. There's real things that you can digest. The execution is a little questionable. I think Godzilla 2014 is infinitely more entertaining. I mean, I can rewatch those scenes where he's fighting the Mutos all day. I don't know if I can rewatch Godzilla shooting sparks out of his fucking back.
Even though, is there a little bit more Godzilla in Shin Godzilla than 2014?
Yes.
It's kind of almost the same, isn't it?
It seems a little bit the same.
I think there's probably like 4 more minutes in Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, it's a little bit more.
Okay.
And Bellotti, what does Suri mean? Does that mean sir? They just kept saying like, Suri, how old am I? And I'm like, what is Suri? It means sir. Does it mean sir?
Suri?
Yeah, do you know?
We might have been going with sorry.
No,
I think
that's what I thought. Oh, it's because they kept saying that. Oh, everybody was saying Suri.
It's more like
Sumi. Oh, Sumi-masen. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what it means. It's Sumi. It's Sumi. S-U-M-I.
It's not Suri.
This is what happens when you bring a non-Godzilla fan on there.
So
He just picks out something like Sumi and like, what is
They
that?
kept saying it. I was like,
no, but they said it before every line.
Yes, yeah. So I thought it meant like, sir, and then the rest of the statement. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't know. I'll probably get an email from August saying, no, that's not what it means.
I think it's like pardon, or like it's a formal way of speaking. And
they're very formal, very, very formal ways.
Especially in government and stuff like that.
Right. One last note on the Legendary and Shin Godzilla. It's like the yin yang. They're very contrasting of each other. And Toho basically made Shin Godzilla as a result of the success of Legendary. And they said, well, they have the hero / Gamera 3 ripoff Godzilla in Legendary that people don't seem to point out. And they said, well, if that's the way you're going. No, he's Gamera 3. That's why I don't like that movie. Because I'm like, it's Gamera 3. Just fucking admit to it. It's Gamera
Protector
3.
balance.
Protector, he's weak. He's not as strong as he, like Rogue Boy.
I'll just say this, but I'll let you finish. But Gamera 3 is really fucking awesome. So
if you're gonna copy a movie.
As August Ragoni says, Gamera 3 did it better. That was the only thing he said, I think, about Shin Godzilla. And I agree with it 100%.
Oh, shit.
But, Toho was like, well, you get the hero Godzilla. We're going to do the fucking evil Godzilla. And that's the route they went. So they did the complete opposite. So the whole I don't understand, like, the fandom where they're just saying better than 2014 or I'm sorry, Legendary was better. I'm like, no, they're two different things. I'm sorry. It's like saying what's better, the Keaton Batman or the Christian Bale Batman? It's like two different things.
Yeah.
That's just inevitable. People just love to fucking shit on other things to make things real good, like seem better.
Oh,
well, that's the thing. It's like people really liked and hated both movies.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's really split.
It's polarizing.
Yeah.
Now, I guarantee you, if I chopped 20 minutes out of Legendary, I would like it a lot better too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every scene with
more.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. Just drop every scene with him, and I'd like.
Yeah, nobody gives a
100%.
fuck about that guy, and don't kill Cranston. But I can't. I mean, I'm glad I watched the hour 40 cut because I think.
Would you recommend it to somebody?
I would recommend the hour 40 cut as yes, because it's very interesting to see. A Japanese movie. It's a good foreign movie.
Will you buy this if it comes out in the U.S.?
Buy it?
Yes.
No.
Is it a buy for you?
I wouldn't even recommend it to.
I'd recommend finding it and watching it. I don't think I'd buy it.
Unless you're a Godzilla fan, I don't think you really would like this movie.
I'm gonna buy it regardless if I hated it or not.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I just didn't. My whole reaction was it was reviewed so well by so many fanboys.
Right.
It literally got my blood boiling that they weren't honest. And didn't criticize the movie at all.
Right.
So I went and leaned in 10 times harder because I was like, fuck these guys that are not even saying that it's just okay. So I did like the movie, but I just didn't like it as much as these fucks did.
Yeah, I don't know why people are calling it a masterpiece.
I mean, again, there's a guy at work who's a Godzilla fan, and he's like, it's the best movie ever. He thinks it's a fucking masterpiece, and I'm like, okay,
it's not a masterpiece. Look, I love the directing. I do. I'm guilty. I love Anno. I love his Evangelion stuff. I really, really like this directing a lot because people don't direct like this. It's just very unique shots.
No, I love the shot. I love that one point of view shot, like you were in a car driving by and you were looking up. Like I thought that was fucking great. And when he's destroying the fucking Tokyo, it looks awesome.
Yeah, a lot of those shots are more, I think, more Higuchi, the special effects guy.
Yeah.
He did those amazing shots in the fucking Gamera trilogy, where it was a similar scene of a military jeep driving past the city, and they're looking up at Gamera, and you have like the foreground, the midground, and the background all moving at different speeds to simulate how we look. And a guy just looks out the window at Gamera, and I'm like, with the train going past, looking up at Godzilla. So it's the same sort of mentality behind each approach to a shot.
I thought they did a good job in showing the scale, from the faraway shots where he's walking through the water to that one aerial shot of like all the buildings and you see him, and then point of view from underneath. Like you could tell he doubled in size when he came back, and then they just dropping the buildings on him was badass.
Yeah, all that stuff was like I liked all that stuff. I mean, people are like, "Well, this is the death of a guy in a suit and all this stuff," but in Japan, like they're so behind the rest of Hollywood. Actually, in terms of everything, they're so behind. And in Japan, like I think they used Maya to make this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like store-bought CGI programs.
Maya Animation. Yeah.
Companies are making their own CGI programs, and the Japanese are like, well, we just use Maya, Photoshop, or whatever, After Effects. I mean, I always give people A for effort because I know what it's like to make a movie. It's fucking hard. You're making something out of nothing, and I give them a lot of credit for, doing what they did with no budget, because in Japan they have been slashing budgets in the Japanese film industry for years now.
Wow.
So you don't have a lot of good directors in Japan anymore because nobody wants to direct.
Do you think that fact that it's made so much money and it's been received really well, isn't that a bonus for them?
They're going to have to make a sequel now.
Oh yeah, I mean they're probably they're shitting gold. They're shitting gold bricks right now because of that movie. But again, they slashed the budget of that movie. They slashed the effects budget.
At $15 million, though, it's got to be one of the higher end budgets in a Japanese production. No, you think?
Right, but that's still nothing.
That's still
like
nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
In comparison,
catering budget for the Blacklist.
Well, in comparison, 2014 budget $160 million. That's what they're competing against. But for $15 million, maybe they should have put a little bit more money in the special effects. I don't know.
But they, Toho, there's people at Toho that didn't even want to make this movie, and they just said, well, here, this is what we're giving you. Just do whatever you can. And that's why there were so many talking scenes, because they couldn't afford to do anything else.
I mean, I think the risk paid off for them, though, financially, when at the end of the day.
But this is what I think. It's like the screen time of Godzilla was not the problem with this movie. The fact that there was a lot of people talking was not the problem of this movie. I think it was a combination of what they were talking about and how they were beating a dead horse a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And being redundant in scenes that didn't need to be redundant.
Like the satire of it, like they can't just fire a fucking machine gun. They have to have 5 people ask them.
I say you can establish that once or twice and kind of speed things along and look into other things that might be interesting. Like I would have loved to spend more time with them actually trying to find out the physiology of Godzilla and talk more about that and explore that a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more about Goromaki,
Yeah.
Well, to defend that, though, they did. If you watch, all right, I think we were talking about this, me and you, through Messenger, because the first half of the movie, a lot of people say is better because it's like it just starts up and they're just reacting, freezes, and then everyone says that's when they started falling asleep until the end. Now, that whole second act, that middle act is basically them figuring out what the fuck Godzilla is.
Yeah. Well, they
cut a lot of that out.
So what I saw, they had that map that they found that they couldn't figure out until one guy's like, origami, and they fucking fold it, which seems a little cliche, but whatever.
Martha!
It was totally the Martha moment. He's like, wait, origami. And then they fold it, and then it gives them more information about this creature. That was kind of fun.
And that's the whole second act is when I saw it again, because the first time I saw it, I was like, they didn't explain nothing. This was stupid. I said I had a lot of anxiety going into it and a lot of weird tension, but this I figured it all out the second time I saw it. I was like, okay, well, they explained it all.
Those subtitles were flying fast and furious,
too. I want to tell you the other
thing.
Yeah, can we just talk about the captions? Why does everything need a goddamn caption? It's hilarious. Every room they're in gets a caption. Everybody's title gets a caption. Yeah. Every helicopter.
That was a joke from Ano.
Even the helicopters get, you know exactly what model of attack copter this is. There's captions all over the place.
That was the satire. That was the satire of the film that they were making fun of. And the second time I watched the movie, I was like, I'm not reading anything above fucking eye level. I'm just reading all the subtitles and just seeing what the fuck's going on. And then I understood what the movie was about, and I said, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
No, on the second viewing, you get more of the satire and the weird humor that's actually in there. It's more clear the second time around. The first time you're like, why are they just fucking sitting around while Godzilla is ripping shit
It's frustrating because, they don't even stick to their own rules in a lot of this movie. There's perfect thing. When Kamata-kun comes out, that's the first form of Godzilla.
Yeah.
And they're about to send everybody out. So the helicopter's out to go get him. Right. So right there in that meeting, they're like, well, I don't know if I should send people out because there's still civilians.
Right.
And then the other dude's just like, listen, he's already destroyed a bunch of shit and more people are dying. So we got to, at this point, we have to just go. So they get there and they're about to fire on Godzilla. And there's a guy two people like crossing the street.
Yeah, they're like, abort.
So they already just established that, okay, we've already decided that civilians, we got to go after them, that they don't matter anymore.
But
and then they chicken out.
There was a lot of talk about evacuation and how to evacuate and when to evacuate. And is this even possible?
That decision, if I'm the president and I make the decision, listen, collateral damage is going to happen. We know about this. Let's go. And then all of a sudden you just stop.
You're like, fucking hit
destroyed him right there.
Yeah. No, they
wasn't that powerful yet.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's just frustrating to watch.
But I think they want to get you in that mindset of how frustrating it is to see the government's
Funny Games. You remember that movie, Funny Games?
Yes.
That's what this movie was.
What? Really? That's weird because that's about a home invasion.
But Funny Games is a movie where every single time the people can get away, they don't get away.
They don't. Yeah.
So it's frustrating to watch because you're like, okay, they decided they're going to do this and then they're not going to get away.
I feel like they were trying to achieve what the people felt in Japan after 2011, the frustration of like, just fucking do something. Stop talking about it. And it's just inherent in government. Yeah. And I think that's the frustration you were feeling, which is it worked.
Yeah, it was all that stuff. It was all like, well, this is how fucking stupid you people look when people were dying out there in the streets and in their homes. So trying to make.
I mean, the whole building came down. They're worried about two guys. You know?
Yeah. That's a satire. You know, the thing with Ano, I like his catalog of work, but he's not like a super accomplished filmmaker either. You know, I mean, he's done like 3 movies maybe?
So director Hideki Anno, and he also wrote it by himself and then co-directed Evangelion 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And
the series and in the new reboots, yeah.
Yeah.
And then other movies I've never heard of. Neon Genesis Evangelion, all that, Love and Pop. So TV miniseries and
to look at it like I hate to say compare him to Joss Whedon, but Joss Whedon started out in TV with Buffy, which was super popular. Then he did Firefly, and then he made the jump to movies with Avengers, and then Avengers is great, but it does have its problems. It's not as cinematic as it could have been, whatever. And then Ultron, whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of compare him to Hideaki Anno, because he kind of has he started out in TV and anime, and he made the leap to movies, and it's not translating as well as maybe some other people would.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the way I take it as well. It doesn't mean he's a bad filmmaker. It just means that he's got a lot to learn, and maybe he wasn't ready to take the keys to the Godzilla Kingdom. I don't know.
Well, I feel he made a valiant effort, but I do think that people are just a little bit too generous with their reviews.
I do too.
Well, look, let me ask you guys this as we kind of wrap this up. What would you have rather seen? What would you have done? What did you want to see?
I don't mind the zombie scary Godzilla.
Okay.
I don't mind that at all. I don't even, when push comes to shove, I don't even think you have to get rid of the origin. I don't think that he has a proper motivation to come ashore. And that would be better if he had a little bit more of a motivation to come ashore, but I would tweak that a little bit. I wouldn't make Godzilla have like little tiny arms. I wouldn't have introduced him as Kamata-kun and come in and done all these evolution. I would have get rid of evolution altogether.
Really? Have they done that before in any Godzilla movie? The evolving?
No.
I would get rid of the evolution altogether. You could keep the lasers if you want, but the fact that he has to be killable in some way. He has to feel pain. He has to have a weakness. And he can't have like the radar sense that if when he's sleeping, he just kills her. I mean, like, give him something, and I would give him like decent arms, and I would actually make him move and react. And when people are firing at him, just like swing a tail at something. Like like wipe out some tanks. Just stand there.
Are you okay with him being basically a nuclear reactor?
That's fine.
Okay,
that's fine. I just think that making him so overpowered and changing his motivation for coming ashore weakens him so much as a character. And the fact he's not like a good character. He's just a foil.
Yeah. Bellotti, what would you have done?
I agree with pretty much what everything Rug Boy said. I would have I would have changed the female character. I wouldn't have made the whole running for president thing was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made her like a brash American idiot. I like the scenes of foreign diplomats. I love the scene where they're talking to the people in Germany with the supercomputer. Remember that whole scene? And
ooh, I think that was cut out of mine.
That's cut out. Yeah,
I did not.
Oh yeah, like see, they cut out all like the shit that that's why I couldn't watch that cut because they cut out stuff I liked.
Huh.
And they had the Prime Minister of France was the one that begged hold off their nuclear attack. Like I like that.
Wow, it gets into that even more. See, a little bit. That's unnecessary, though. I don't know.
That I really like because that was in the spirit of Ishiro Honda's films, where it
was more of a global thing.
Yeah, he was a World War II veteran who became a pacifist, and his films are always sort of saying how he wanted people to come together, and that's kind of my mentality in life, where it's like everybody wants to fight with each other, but I want people to come together. Like let's not fucking kill each other over something stupid. Let's figure it out together. And I like that aspect of the film.
Yeah, he was definitely a uniting force. Like instead of like an alien, it was this thing that was created.
And I would have gotten rid of some of the heavy-handed stuff, like that the United States is an enemy. I understand, like, sometimes we do suck. Actually, most times we suck. And this is how maybe the rest of the world perceives us, and that's fine. That's how we come off. I mean, it's a little heavy-handed. It should have been, like I was saying, like a fucking Danny Aiello character, like a sympathetic American in there. The fucking, it's like you're talking about someone that's not in the room and they can't even defend themselves.
That's what they do, though. Didn't they do that in the original, and then America cut that out and put Raymond Burr in?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anthony, what would you have changed? Anything?
I mean, I think these guys hit it on the head.
Okay.
The only thing I would add that they haven't said is design's got to go. I hated that design. I got
start over again, back to the drawing board.
Just
scrap and
rebuild. Just make him look like
he's
looked before.
I guarantee you that I know a bunch of artists that could come up with a way better zombie-ish looking Godzilla that's scary, but still holds true to the way that we like to see him.
Mm-hmm. If you just gave him some arms, lessened his hips, and made him a little bit more expressive, I think he would have been fine.
I'm with you on that one. I think those three things would have improved the design.
I also would say, actually, even though I appreciate 1954 Godzilla, I'm more of a fan of him fighting people, and this movie's not that. So I would have liked to seen him fight something.
Another monster, right? This is it's always hard.
I know that's not the not the original, but that's what most people have grown up on. And I enjoy him. Fighting
pretty
people.
much. Yeah, I didn't like the original for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
Until I became until like my 20s.
It's not even the darkness; it's just you don't appreciate it as a child, especially if you watch the Raymond Burr version.
Yeah,
that was the thing. When I saw the original Japanese in the theater in subtitles, I left that feeling really depressed, and I was like, "Wow, that was a really fucking powerful movie." And that was like I was in my 20s at that point, where I could appreciate good quality films. So, no, the first film is a masterpiece. You can't. I mean, it's that and Seven Samurai came out in the same year in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And those are like the two like most famous fucking Japanese imports. Masterpieces of the genre right there. Everything after that is kind of like, well, it's either one or the other. It's either a Godzilla or a Seven Samurai kind of movie.
Very interesting. No, I'm just happy we can get our thoughts out, because it's an interesting movie, and like I said, I would recommend the hour 40 cut. In terms of like a Japanese, if you're looking for a foreign film, not a Godzilla film, I would recommend it if you want to see a foreign film. You want to see a commentary on Japan's government disaster preparedness.
You want to know something? I would actually want to see the dubbed version, because they could fix the girl's shitty English in there.
I don't like when they dub it though. I like the original. I like hearing it in
dub
Japanese.
movies. I like dubs.
Be dubbed well.
I like to see them both, because sometimes I can watch the movie and kind of be immersed more when I see a dub.
And
but if I want to know exactly what the movie is about, I'll watch the sub. So it's one of the two.
Well, you need good voice actors and good dubbing, for it to work. I also thought I liked how they flipped the name this time, where the U.S. came up with the code name Godzilla, and then they started saying Gojira, because the U.S. already had called it Godzilla. It was their code name, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's weird.
Flip. It's a flip. Yeah, they flipped it from. It's like a commentary on like how we started calling it Godzilla because we're stupid.
So, what would you rate it, Imran?
All right. Well, let's go around. We'll wrap this up. Everyone, grade it. Letter grade. I would give this like a B minus, B minus E. I think on a second viewing, you do see the bigger picture, and maybe it's not a Godzilla film as much as it's a social political film that just happens to have Godzilla as the foil. But yeah, B-. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna go with.
I give it a B.
I'll say I'm gonna go with actually C.
Okay.
And only because a movie has allegories to real fucking life doesn't mean it's actually all that entertaining.
Okay. And Bellotti, you said B?
Yeah, I give it a B. Not a plus or a minus, just a B. Because there were things I really liked in it, and there were things I thought could have been better.
Bruggs, what about you? Letter grade.
Anthony gave it a C?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Anthony. I'm going to go C too.
All right, so one final question. This is what I really want to know. This being the first Japanese Godzilla movie in 12 years, Godzilla fans are chomping at the bit. The buzz was huge. Excuse me? Shouldn't have had that bean for lunch.
Excuse me.
That was great. That kind of like Kamato.
That was Godzilla.
Run! It's Godzilla!
That was that fart. No, this is what I want to know. Were you disappointed at coming out of this movie? Was this the Godzilla movie you thought it was going to be?
I would say I have a unique perspective because I was spoiled on the film basically doing this show.
Yeah.
So I already knew what to expect, and I came in with this weird expectation of it. So was I disappointed? No, because I knew what I was getting into.
Okay, fair enough.
So
yeah.
Can't really say that.
Bellotti.
I wasn't disappointed. Not the second time.
Okay.
I wasn't.
Ruggs, were you disappointed?
I was extremely disappointed because because it was getting so much like head from everyone, and everyone was blowing this movie up, and I was like, all right, let's see what this fucking thing is. I could not. I was beside myself.
So you guys don't think this
Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you didn't hear all the hype, would you have liked it?
No.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I hate it. I wouldn't have been as adamantly against it.
Yeah. So who is this movie for? This is not a movie for Godzilla fans?
I think it's kind of like it's like a strange album from a band that you like. It's
that's a good point.
It's like the one weird experimental album of some I see that like just went way out in the fucking sticks just cause.
Well, here's the thing, okay? You remember we had that show when you guys are asking me if Godzilla and Kaiju or whatever are still big in Japan?
Yeah.
The guys that, like the hardcore Godzilla fans are like in their 50s and 60s in Japan. So this movie was basically, it wasn't made for us. This was made for the Japanese, and it was made for the newer generation, which I think the movie was trying to speak to with a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
So,
man, I became 50 years old real quick.
You did. I mean, I agree. I think the character of Yaguchi Rando, like that's almost like the film's Avatar. It's
right.
like the Japanese people saying, "What the fuck are you doing? We have to get ready. We got to do something."
Yeah, the movie was made for them. It was made for the, a lot of females actually went to go see this movie in Japan, which is unheard of because it's just like a lot of older guys.
But that was another one of my favorite characters was the girl scientist who knew
great.
all the shit and nobody they scoffed at her. They didn't think she was anything. And she had a fucking Godzilla pin from the beginning. Like she knew what was up.
Right. No, it spoke. It's I think it speaks to the current generation of of the youth in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't live there. I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass, but it definitely wasn't made for us.
No, it's not for an American audience at all.
We had the whole Millennium series for us, and then it didn't go anywhere. They didn't make the money they wanted it to. So they were like, well, fuck it. We're just going to make what we think people would like, like for the masses. It was a very nationalist, public movie for Japan. And that's why it did so well. It spoke to like their nationalistic feelings and how they feel in the world, their position in the world, and in the Pacific.
Yeah.
I liken it to like they made a movie that they could be proud of.
Yes.
Because it does take, because think about it, like kaiju movies, the Japanese style, the tokusatsu style, it was so dated. And kind of, that the international world kind of scoffs at these things. And they went and made a legitimate, effects movie with explosions and fucking production value and high-end directing. And so they're very proud of this movie, even though it's not a great Godzilla movie by my standards or by a lot of people's standards, they're very proud of this movie. They're like, look at what we did. We did a fucking Hollywood type big movie. And
with kind of a message for the Japanese people, you know?
So in that sense, they succeeded, and they're very proud of that. And they're not really concerned with if it's going to be an international blockbuster to America and stuff. They're not really trying to speak to that audience.
And it's kind of refreshing that they don't care about the global market. You know, this is for them, made by them.
They do not care about. They don't care about the American fans. I'm sorry. They did not make that for us.
No.
Yeah. But I also think that in the future, they can capitalize on the American fandom by keeping the production value like they did in this movie.
Yep. You can't go back now.
But they won't. That's the weird thing about Toho. They don't care. They're like a bunch of dickheads. They're worse than they're worse than the WB. Like they just
wow.
But I know I'm probably shooting myself in the. I probably can never approach them now about doing posters for them because now they're like, "Oh, we heard y'all. We heard your podcast, the dicks, huh?"
They never hear this podcast.
They're not gonna listen.
They'll never hear this podcast because, like I said, they don't care.
Suri, please hire Bellotti. Suri.
Yeah, but no, they don't care. They just don't care. Not even, like I said, half the people, some people that Toho didn't even want to make this movie.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they do a sequel to this. What happens? Hey, the people that are making Godzilla movies for America, Legendary. We have Godzilla 2 to look forward to. And they have a director now. The director is the writer, Michael Dougherty, who's been working on this script after he was hired to run the Godzilla Universe writing room. He's the guy who directed Krampus. Him and his co-writer, Zach Shields, were writing the sequel, and then they offered him the directing gig. So, writer-director Michael Dougherty on Godzilla 2, which is dated for March 22nd, 2019. It's coming up. Get excited for the Monsterverse from Legendary, people. It's coming. Look, you guys, I can't thank you enough for giving your expert thoughts on this, and we finally got to fucking get this down for the listener. If you're a Godzilla fan, you enjoyed this. I just want to say real quick, we have other Godzilla shows you can check out. Episode 28 was our big Godzilla Nerd Fest, where I think we first met John Bellotti. His origin story's in there. And then John Bellotti got his own show, episode 62, where it was the John Bellotti guest show. And then, of course, there is the infamous G-Fest 2016 episode, 118.
Oh, banned for life.
And thanks for posting the picture of the thing that I broke. Look, I like this design.
Did you have Bellotti on something else, too?
And then he became a regular. Then he became a regular, and he would fill in here and there. But those are the three big ones. And I'm just going to end this by saying I like this movie so much that I would smash this thing if I saw it in person. If I saw a statue, I love it so much I would break it. Oh, shit. That's just how I show my appreciation.
Stay tuned for the next G-Fest.
It's a very Pakistani thing. It's cultural. You know, guys are going to get it.
Might be real wild. I don't think anyone's ever said that in their life.
No.
With actual G's. Look, if you don't know the Pakistani culture, we burp to show a sign of appreciation, and then we blow things up to show a sign of appreciation.
Oh, shit.
So that means I love it. If I break it, I love it. Thanks, you guys.
I want Trump hear you say that. Like to break
Jesus
shit.
Christ, man.
I gotta break shit. Look, we're gonna wrap it up. Ruggs, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me not watching Shin Godzilla ever again.
You're gonna buy it anyways, you bastard.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it, but I'm gonna buy the figures too. But you can find me on.
I fucking hate those people. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can find me on Twitter.
I threw you for a loop. I threw you for a fucking loop.
I'm really rug boy.
Bellotti, plug your shit, man.
Robo7.com. ROBO7.com. Go look at it, and hopefully you like it. If I suck, tell me you think I suck. Just talk to me. Something. Anything. Please. Buy a shirt. I got a wedding coming up. I need money.
Oh, boy. Buy a Godzilla shirt. And if you're a Godzilla fan, and if you're not, we hope you enjoyed this review. As always, you can find us everywhere you can find podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, YouTube, TuneIn. If you have Alexa, tell it to play the Jock and Nerd podcast. She will play it for you. So subscribe, leave us a rating, tell a friend, spread the geekery. Thank you for every second you hang out with us. This has been the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll catch you next time.
Calling Master
unfriendly, and he's going to destroy your country. There's nothing you can do about it.
Run! It's Godzilla!
Jogging nerd. It was a Godzilla-sized fart you had there, Ruggs.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was Bellotti.